All right, I think we can go ahead and get started, and then we'll let the rest trickle in here as we go through introductions. So my name is Matt Mosley. I'll be going over leveraging attack simulation to improve incident response today. Thanks for joining me. So a little bit about Tevora for those that don't know us. We were founded in 2003. We really got our start in PCI. From there, grew through word of mouth, and now we are in the majority of the Fortune 500s. We've got accounts in multiple verticals. We have areas of specialty in healthcare, solutions and implementation, threat. You guys may have seen our threat blog or seen some of our articles that have been published in various hacker books, pen testing, wireless pen testing, application pen testing. We have the IR team, which is myself and a few others. We have our enterprise risk and compliance team. So yeah, go through here real quick. The company itself, we've been ranked in the Inc. 5000 as the fastest growing cybersecurity company for the last few years. We are ISO certified. We are PCI High Trust certified. Tevora is a PFI, if you're familiar with that. So we are a PCI forensic investigator. We're one of 20 in the world. I think one of 13 in the United States that can handle PCI breaches. Our commitment to you guys is to really provide insightful advice, right? We never want to give you, anything that is not best of breed. We really go out of our way to research and give you the best strategy and implementation or solution possible whenever whatever security issues that you may have. We are an expert resource. Everyone on our team has many accreditations and qualifications throughout the industry, and then we are definitely we are definitely confident on our delivery and our deliverables that we provide you. Everything that we give you is detailed, and nothing is cookie cutter or out of the ordinary mix of what other companies may provide some of our competitors. I myself, I am the Director of Information Security and Digital Forensics for Tevora. I am an uber geek, so I love all things information security. I started in penetration testing as a kind of way to get familiar with how attackers get in. I spent a long time in that. I taught it at UCLA for a little bit, and then now I've dabbled into the blue team side of things. So I have a really good 360-degree perspective of not only how to attack, but how to defend. And so that's kind of what my qualifications are for talking about this topic today. For those that are joined us that are not familiar with IR, this is the incident response lifecycle. Most organizations and IR teams run with this standard incident response methodology. I can definitely speak for our team here at Tevora as we go through this IR lifecycle in every incident that we do. These 6 phases here are really essential to not only remediating an incident efficiently and as quickly as possible, but lessons learned and how to better prepare for future stuff. Of these 6 steps, though, the most important is probably the preparation, and is the hardest to accomplish. And that's really kind of where we're going to focus today on this webinar here, is really preparing our environment to defend and how to better increase our security posture and incident response capability against potential attackers that are leveraging the latest tools and techniques out there. In an ideal situation, our team will go through these 6 phases and successfully thwart the attack. I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have gone through incidents and attempted to go through the IR life cycle. Unfortunately, in real-world incidents, it's tough to stick to the methodology 100% of the time. You've got executive leadership wanting results right away. You're trying to, make sure you contain and eradicate the threat as quickly as possible, sometimes missing, certain areas of the network that may have been affected. So when time is crucial and you have, higher ups expecting answers, and identification and containment phases don't fully mature, and you can't really, get complete identification and containment, you begin doing this whack-a-mole, attack strategy with against the attackers, and eventually you miss things. So eventually the incident gets contained and eradicated, and everyone is on the road to recovery. Lessons learned rarely gets carried out. I know we have a lot of meetings afterwards with our clients to go kind of through that, and they're surprised that we're requesting that time. I think it's just kind of a lost art, really, for going through incidents and kind of gaining, an idea of how you could have better prepared yourself for that previous incident. But out of this methodology and this kind of, whack-a-mole, in a time of criticalness, came the cyber kill chain. So this was published by Lockheed Martin in 2013. It gave us the ability to really detect and predict intrusions based on knowledge of our adversarial tactics, right? Identified series of phases that an attacker must conduct in order to launch a successful attack. Now, me from the pen testing side of things, this was how I used to go about, gaining access to different client environments, right? You do your reconnaissance, you look at the threat landscape, you weaponize your attack, you deliver it, you exploit it, and you gain access. So the cyber kill chain's purpose was really to address the inefficiencies of the traditional detection and incident handling strategies. At the time, network and endpoint security solutions focused on post-infection or post-compromise detections, right? If anybody here on the line is familiar with those old days, it was more of a, if we get, hacked, this is how we're going to prove it, and this is how we're going to investigate it, versus nowadays it's when we get hacked, how do we contain it and eradicate it as quickly as fast as possible. So the cyber kill chain did successfully introduce us to threat intelligence and allowed teams to build new IR strategies and be more proactive. Advanced persistent threat, right? That word got thrown around quite a bit. It was the big buzzword at the time, and it allows us to really classify at that time new threats that we were seeing in the industry. So quickly, just to break it down a little bit, the model really guides analysis to inform actionable security intelligence, right? Through this model, defenders can develop mitigations and defenses based on intelligence gathered about adversary tactics, techniques, and procedures. Since its induction, it's been the go-to model for cyber threat intelligence. But what I really kind of want to focus on today is and this was kind of the precursor, the foundation for what later became the MITRE attack framework. And this was published a few years later, right? This came out in 2015. The MITRE organization is an impartial and unbiased organization that was founded during World War II to help the DoD develop radar and other technologies. They've established themselves as a thought leadership in cybersecurity and have helped develop such things as CVE database, right? You guys are familiar with that. STIX and TAXI, definitely should be familiar with that. If you're not, you should read up on that, which helped us use threat feeds. The attack stands for adversary tactics, techniques, and common knowledge. And that's where we're really going to kind of focus our attack simulations on, is all these adversary tactics, techniques, and common knowledge, right? It provides a model and framework for describing the actions and techniques an attacker must use to compromise an enterprise network. It leverages the cyber threat intelligence to both expand the knowledge of our network defenders and assist the prioritization of defenses needed to deal with these TTPs, these tactic, techniques, and procedures. And all this information within the attack is based on real-world events and investigative reports that have been released to the public. It's based on real threat actors that we know that are out there that exist. For example, the big SolarWinds hack that just happened, APT29, which is the suspected group behind that. We know what their common tactics, techniques, and procedures are, and that's how we kind of are guessing at this point. I don't think anybody has any concrete evidence that it was APT29, but they're basing the information that was gathered after the fact on the tactics that were used once they gained access to make the assessment that it was APT29. So looking at the MITRE attack matrix, we can see these different breakdowns across the board, right? So we've got execution, persistence, privilege escalation, defense evasion, all these different attack categories. So across the top are the tactics, and the tactics are the adversary's technical goal and are more general by design. Examples here are maintaining persistence, data exfiltration, and so on. So here we've divided here we're diving into a little bit on the spear phishing. Spear phishing attachments are a common way attackers gain access. On the MITRE, it's outlined examples of real-world examples utilized by ATB groups like APT12 and APT19. Here we see that each of these groups uses attachments like rich text documents or PDFs to exploit the victim machines to gain a foothold, right? And we can take that information and we know that we can start putting in mitigating or compensating controls that would help prevent those attack groups from spear phishing our clients. So we take that information, we take that threat intelligence, what techniques do our adversaries use, and what can we use to detect those type of attacks, right? And how can we improve, and does our security hold up? So how do you do that right now without going and actually attacking your team or hiring a pen test team to come in and do this type of work, right? So knowledge of our adversary behaviors help inform our teams, our defenders, and allow us to help map our security controls and tools to their tactics, techniques, and procedures. It also provides a common language across multiple organizations and makes the sharing of intelligence a lot easier, especially if you're in certain industry groups. There's different groups out there that allow you to share this information with each other. The financial industry has a group, and even the hospitality industry has a group, right? And if you aren't part of InfraGard, this information is shared regularly based on different industries, and I highly recommend you guys look into joining that if you're not already a part of it. But yeah, so as the groups communicate, we can compare attack behaviors. We can start documenting, different ways that we can identify these when they happen and how to prevent them from happening, right? We can communicate across teams within the same organization or even the same industry. We can create IOCs, indicators of compromise, to help detect and contain these intrusions. And so we take the cyber kill chain and we take the MITRE attack and we start kind of overlapping those a little bit, and we start to see different things that we can do based on each step of the cyber kill chain that the attackers are using, right? We've got passive scanning, active scanning, right? That's part of the recon part. Weaponizing, that's the malware scripting and service execution. Delivery, what is the mechanism of how they're going to get us, how they're going to attack us, right? That's the spear phishing, that's the supply chain compromise, which we just saw in SolarWinds. And we want to know how effective are our defenses. Is the data I'm collecting useful? Do I have overlapping tool coverage, right? I mean, when's the last time we all did a SWOT analysis? So, will this new product that I'm doing a POC in my organization help me defend against these type of adversaries? And this is where the attack simulation really comes in handy. For example, we have the MITRE Attack Navigator, which has all these different things outlined for us. And we can do traditionally what we've always done, where we can have a pen test team come in and do these tactics, or a red team come in and do these tactics. And we can mark on this navigator. This is open source, by the way. So you can do this. This website's freely available for everyone. You can go in, you can highlight each area, and then you can see where your blue team went and detected that stuff. Excuse me. Now that's one way of doing it, right? And it's not a bad way of doing it, but there are other ways of doing it, right? When I'm pen testing or when different groups are pen testing, yes, they may find multiple ways to get into an organization, but their overall goal is to get into the organization. So they might not poke holes in every single hole that you have on your perimeter or internally, or they may not need to leverage all the different holes that you have internally in your environment. And so what we can do there is when we do our attack simulation, we can actually leverage these scripts, these automated scripts, to go through and poke holes and identify where in our security controls they aren't working, right? And it allows us to really drive decisions about what solutions we need to buy. What are our gaps? What other tools do we need? And what other strategies do we need to help build our more effective defenses, right? And we can plan out tool and log acquisition strategies based on this information that we get. We consider different changes, right? Do we need to implement better network segmentation, choke points? You know, where can we really start getting the most bang for our buck? And so now you take the cyber kill chain and you take the MITRE attack, and then you map it on top of common security controls, and we start to identify really what areas or what solutions that we can purchase, or what areas do we need to refine and kind of reduce the noise a little bit to get a better idea of how we can better secure our organization and our different, and basically you know, enhance our incident response capability. And so here you can go through, and once you've done the simulated attacks, which I'll go through in just a minute, you can actually highlight how well you did on each one of these areas, right? And you can do a heat map, if you will, that allows you to really identify areas that need improvement and areas that are well covered. So for example, here in this picture, we can see that our virtualization sandbox evasion is very well developed, but our browser extensions and you know, maybe access token manipulation needs some improvement on not only monitoring, but also defense against those type of attacks. And the MITRE attack evaluations allows us to look at different solutions in those different areas. This is very helpful when we're trying to identify what the best solution is. And you know, I'll throw it out there, Tevora can also help you do that. but you can do it as well, and you can do a technique comparison, vendor comparison, product comparisons. It's very efficient, very straight to the point, and you can definitely get the knowledge that you need based on this information. So now we started to get an insight into our adversary's game plan. We've proactively designed to defend against adversaries effectively. We can test our detection and IR plans. We can use attack to develop attack emulation plans to simulate adversary behavior. We can utilize pre-made attacks for simulating those, pre-made scripts for simulating those attacks. There are commercial products available, right? If you're not familiar with it, breach and attack simulation, BAS. It's relatively new, but it definitely does have a Gartner Magic Quadrant on it, so you can look those up. You know, what this does address is it addresses those attempts that have been made to automate penetration testing, right? And as a pen tester, I can tell you that automating pen testing, it sounds great. I don't know if we're ever going to get there. There's just certain things that a human can do that you know, the logic just isn't there yet, right? If I'm doing a pen test and I come across a text document that has credentials in it, as a human, I can take that and use those credentials in the environment. I don't know that an automated script can do that just yet, where it can look at a text document or look at source code and identify those different types of information so that they can leverage in the computer in the network, right? But with the attack simulation, we don't need to really simulate getting credentials. We can just simulate, assuming that an attacker has those credentials, what they can do in the environment, and then basically create and enhance our security posture in that way, so that when it does happen, we're ready to go and we're available to identify it immediately. Breach and attack simulations should be considered a form of vulnerability scanning, right? It's a complement to a vulnerability management program, and it should definitely be something that you're looking forward to in the future implementing in your environment. And now we're going to get into kind of the DIY part of this. So Red Canary, which is one of our competitors, great company, they have created the Atomic Red Team. Now there are a bunch of different threat simulation DIY open source tools out there. dumpster fire, which is one of my favorites just because of the name, is another one that's available. And these are all basically just pre-scripted, attacks that someone came up with and put together, and then you can launch them in your environment. What's nice, what I like about Atomic Red Team is that it's very easy to edit, go through and do, all the scripts are in YAML. You can go through and edit the command line and leverage the attacks in any way that you want it to do. You can create your own scripts that match the MITRE attack framework for whatever adversaries you may be going up against. And the best part of it, that it's free. And to complement that, Tevora has developed a graphic user interface for those scripts called the Tevora execution engine, right? So we in-house developed this. We're still working on it. We're trying to get a really good reporting feature that comes out of this that allows us to do the heat map and identify, when a test was successful or not successful, and really just kind of script the results a lot more efficiently than they are currently. But this is also available today. You can go on GitHub and grab that for yourself. And I'll just go ahead and give a demo of it right now. Oops. Let me switch over to my demo here. Okay, so this is my Windows 7 test box, right? It's been unpatched, of course, because we want to make sure. Actually, I shouldn't say of course. What you want to do is basically pick a system build within your environment that's common, or a gold image that you guys have built, a virtual machine, stand it up, something that either your servers are currently running or that your workstations are running, and you want to go through and get that up and running in a clean image in a VMware, and then or VirtualBox, whatever you got. You're going to go ahead and make a snapshot, because this is potentially going to ruin ruin your virtual machine. But what you do is you set up you point it at the Atomics directory. So in this case, we've got it here on the desktop, and we've just got these couple here. The full list of Atomics is actually here, and these are marked based on the MITRE attack identification number. Right, and you can go into any one of these and you'll see the YAML, and you can actually edit the YAML here. So in this case is, let's see, what are we doing? The browser extensions attack. And this is gonna go through and see what kind of browser extensions are there, and potentially identify vulnerable extensions. So for this example, I'm gonna go to T1007. And this is really just identifying system services, right? So this is something an attacker would do once they've gained access. And this is something that you guys can run in your environment and then see if there's any alerts or triggers that happen, so that you can, fire off an alert on just potential activity from an attacker. And here we see that the default is C drive temp service list .text, right? And then this is the command that's going to run, which is not net.exe start and then output to the file. Just to show you how easy this is, we can go through and we can just edit this real quick to just do demo, and we'll save it. We've already located our folder, so we're going to hit load Atomics just to refresh this a little bit. Now you can see that the command that's going to run is updated. It's going to be the demo. I want to output my results here to the desktop. You can export your test plan, which is a CSV file. So you can, take that test plan and then start checking it off, in your after the fact, go through, check off what security controls went through, what detected what, which tests were successful, right? So just before we start here, we're going to do a service query, service discovery. And we're going to output that information to a text file. We're also going to do a hidden window process, and that's going to execute calculator. So if we go ahead and run this, if we start this simulation, we should see calculator pop up, and we should also see an output of the services that are running. So we've got calculator. So now we know that that PowerShell script was successful, nothing blocked it. And then we can go into our temp directory here, and we can see that the service list, and this was outputted as well. So an attacker successfully was able to run a PowerShell hidden in a hidden window, and then also export the service list, and there was nothing blocking it. Now, what I also did on this virtual machine is I installed Carbon Black EDR on here, or Carbon Black Response, so that we could track all the activity that was being done on the VM, and then we can better critique our alerts to flag on those different attacks and also potentially block those. And I highly recommend that when you do your virtual machine, that you install your security controls in place and you don't disable anything, right? Don't disable AV or don't disable CrowdStrike. Let it actually do what it's supposed to do so that you can identify what it didn't do, when these attacks happen. And that is it for that. So let me go back to this slide deck here. And that is it. So any questions from you guys? Okay. We have one, and it was for Red Canary. So that you can actually just Google Atomic Red Team, but this is the address that you can go to if you want to quickly copy that down. But yeah, just Googling Atomic Red Team. GitHub actually, there's if you Google awesome incident response, there's a whole slew of different tools, and in there's actually attack simulation. There's a whole category of open source attack simulation tools that are readily available now. And then as far as commercial solutions out there, there are a few. I'm just going to switch the slide real quick. Hopefully you've copied that down. But Attack IQ, Simulate, Safe Breach, those are the ones that I know of. But I think there's probably a dozen now that are actually available out there. Okay. Well, if you need to reach me, my contact information is with this webinar. If you ever need to reach out to the Tevora the Tevora Incident Response team, ir@tevora.com. We have a 800 number that's available for 24/7 emergency incident response. Someone is always available to help you in case you need that. And then if you need any more information from Tevora on any other services, you can visit us at Tevora.com or email us at info@tevora.com. And that is it. Thank you very much, everyone.